The first suicide off the Vista Bridge after Juanita moved to Goose Hollow was a girl. The news said she was 15. Juanita didn't see her jump, but she saw police and medical examiners swarming the light rail service road where the girl landed. The second time, a 47-year-old man jumped. Juanita was waiting at the train stop nearby. She looked up, and there he stood at the railing. She felt the bad luck radiating from him, even at this distance, and she wasn't surprised when he stepped over the side into the void. He landed on Jefferson Street in the middle of the morning commute. She called 911 so the cops could get there right away. No one should see that. She wished she hadn't. Juanita had lived in Goose Hollow 5 months when the third, fourth, and fifth jumped. The neighbors said it had always been bad, the Vista Bridge suicides, but this year was the worst. The city started scraping up funds for a barrier, but modifying beautiful historic bridges took time. It'll be months, maybe a year before they finish the fence, said the man down the hall. I'm organizing the suicide volunteer watch. Do you think that's something you'd want to do? County Mental Health trained Juanita to talk people down, and she took her place among the volunteers who walked the bridge. The first time she stopped a jumper, it was another teenage girl. Juanita managed to touch the girl's hand, just long enough to turn her luck around. They sat holding hands on one of the concrete benches set into the bridge until the paramedics came. She listened to the girl's story: pregnancy, abandonment, and ostracism. It's going to be okay, said Juanita. And it was. They stayed in touch. The girl's repentant parents took her back. She arranged an open adoption with an ecstatic couple, found a scholarship, and started college. The second time, a month later, Juanita offered a woman lingering near the edge a cup of coffee from her thermos. Startled, she took it. Their fingers brushed, and again, it was enough. The woman went on to turn her failing business around and became a crisis counselor herself. After she stopped the third jumper the next month, Juanita acquired a reputation. This morning, Juanita watched alone. Her partner was out sick. She didn't mind. Nothing would happen today. The odds were against it. Juanita knew about odds. She'd worked for 30 years in a casino as a cocktail waitress before she retired. She had a reputation then, too. She'd been pretty. Still was, if older. But the house didn't pay her extra for her looks. Table 3, honey, the pit boss would murmur. Guy in a plaid jacket. Do I have to? She complained at first. Life isn't fair, Juanita, at least not here. Juanita would walk over, tray held high, and touch Plaid Jacket's shoulder. Can I get you a drink? They're on the house. She'd bring Plaid Jacket his rum and Coke, or just a Coke if he wanted to stay sharp and keep his astonishing lucky streak going. And then he'd start losing. If Juanita liked Plaid Jacket, he'd tip well, keep him good to the other waitresses, or he just struck her as a well-meaning soul. She wouldn't touch him again. He'd walk away with about what he'd come in with, give or take. But if he didn't tip, or if he squeezed her ass, she'd bring him drink after drink, tapping his shoulder or brushing her hand against his at each time, and he'd lose his shirt. No one knew why, least of all Juanita, but everyone in management knew she carried bad luck. She never told them she could also be lucky. She didn't do it enough to raise suspicion, but often she'd see a loser, someone raw, inexperienced, over his head and radiating desperate bad luck. People's luck shone all around him. She'd touch his shoulder, bring him a drink, and his luck would change enough to save him. Life wasn't fair, but it didn't need to be so harsh. Sometimes the losers quit while her touch lasted. Sometimes they wouldn't. Juanita only touched the unlucky once, with one exception. A foolish woman she heard had come to earn enough money for a child's surgery. When the woman walked out with twice the winnings she needed, Juanita stopped her near the door. Don't come back, she said. Don't ever come back. Not here, not another casino. No gambling ever. Your luck is played out. Got it? The woman nodded and turned away, still crying. Juanita never saw her again, and she wondered if there'd been a child. She never touched someone like that again. Her own luck she left alone. She worked hard, lived clean, and saved her money. She still got flats, her heart broken, caught the flu, but things worked out mostly. Juanita talked to many people on the bridge, most just neighborhood walkers and sightseers there for the spectacular view. Of the rest who came to Vista Bridge, some were mentally ill. More were unlucky. She couldn't help the crazy, but she could help the others. Now, 6 months in, Juanita strolled the bridge along the walkways in the early morning mist, her coffee thermos and some melamine cups in the bag slung at her hip. The cars hadn't started their daily trek down Jefferson Street far below, but the warning bells of the MAX train as they pulled away from the Goose Hollow stop floated upwards, their shrillness hushed in the morning air. When she looked toward the sunrise, she could see the train tracks, the tall buildings downtown. You couldn't call them skyscrapers. The luxury cars lined up on the car dealership rooftop on Jefferson Street, and trees, trees, trees. Somewhere in the pre-dawn clouds lurked Mount Hood. She loved this view of the little city and the trees she'd adopted as hers when she'd left Las Vegas for good. She came to the sign at the span's end reading, "We can help you cross this bridge," with the suicide prevention number in bold. Below it, another volunteer had taped a neon green hand-lettered sign. "Hi, you matter. Can you talk for a second, please?" around a big felt-tip marker heart. Juanita turned back toward an identical set of signs at the other end.
Thank you about that.
Okay.